Have you ever done a theme that you were nervous about because you weren't really sure about the end result or the colors were out of your comfort zone, but in the end it all came together and it ended up being one of your favorite themes? Well, this was one of those for me. Hi, I'm Juliana and welcome back to another video. And today we are doing the February setup in my mom's bullet journal. If you don't know, I make one of these every month for my mom in her own journal because 1, she likes it, 2, I get to use more stationery, and 3, that way I have an extra video for you guys. So for this theme I'm going to use 3 tapes that were kindly sent to me by the Washi tape shop, and they also sent me some more of their new releases. So before we start, let me show you all of them. I'm going to start with the ones that I'm going to use in this setup because they are the ones that I'm most excited about. So this one is the Lotus Twilight White Washi tape. It also comes in a PET version, and this one is beautiful. It captures a dreamy sunset with some birds flying away, and the transition between the colors, it's so satisfying. The pink, the lavender and the yellow are just perfect. Next we have the pre-cut Lotus Saga white PET tape. This also comes in a washi tape version, and this one is so much fun. It has unique designs with a color palette so different from what I'm used to see in this type of illustrations, and with these stone bridges, waterfalls, majestic arches and fountains, this looks exactly like an enchanted garden. And in the little empty spaces you have some extra butterflies, frogs, birds, rabbits and little lotus flowers, of course. The color palette reflects the colors of the sunset sky, and because of that it creates this warm, peaceful and utterly magical dreamscape. And next we have the Lotus Silhouette White Washi tape. It comes in a PET version as well. And this one is kinda like the sky washi tape. It has a continuous scene across the entire tape, and it's a continuation of the same color palette. So this is the last tape of this bundle. You can buy them separately or together. I'm going to use them as a set, so I hope you can give you some ideas on how to use them together. Moving on to the other releases, here we have the pre-cut Spring Cafe white PET tape, and again it has a washi tape version, and I think this one is perfect for spring, of course, as the name says, but also Easter if you celebrate, and that's because of the bunnies, they just remind me of that. This tape has hand-painted watercolor illustrations in this soft color palette, and it features cafes, flowers, bouquets, bunnies and books, so you have plenty of designs to choose from. This one can be used as a complete bullet journal theme or as decoration for a book review, which I think it's something that I'm going to do in the future. Flipping to the next page, we have the Country Azure White Washi tape, and this one is quite similar to the first one that we swatched, but in a different color palette. This one reminds me of a morning or an afternoon sky on a beautiful day, again with seamless gradients between the colors, more clouds, and the birds are here again. And this next one is part of the same bundle as the previous, and it's the pre-cut Country Diary white PET tape. This one is a panoramic scene featuring windmills, cozy village clusters and wandering waterways. I don't have the third tape of the bundle, but just trust me, it's beautiful as well. You can overlap the scenes and they look like they were always like this. It's great to create scenes with just one tape. For the next one we have the Spring Canvas white PET tape. This looks just like art. You have different sizes for each piece, some are square, others are rectangular, and each one is hand-painted in watercolor, creating a seamless panorama of rolling mountains, winding rivers, and lush awakening forests. The palette is very vibrant with rich emeralds, cerulean blues, and wildflower pinks that pop against the page. If you like color in your journal and you can't wait for spring, this is the way to go. And for the final tape, we have the pre-cut Studio Sprout white PET tape, and as you guys know by now, this one is not my cup of tea, but it might be yours, so I'm still showing you. This one is adorable. The little characters are enjoying a sunny day, some are clutching a bouquet of fresh picked blooms, others are enjoying a lemonade, and each illustration is rendered in hand-painted pastel style with crisp black outlines, which makes the characters feel warm, nostalgic, and full of life. And that's all the tapes I have to show you. I really liked all of them, especially the bundle and the scenic panorama ones. And even though this last one is not my style, I can still appreciate it. If you liked any of these tapes, you can use my discount code Juliana10 to get 10% off your order. And if none of these tapes are your cup of tea, the Washi Tape Shop has an awesome catalog of beautiful and unique tapes for you to find, including washi and PET versions of the same one, and some other stationery as well. So now, without further ado, let's start the February setup. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a frame in a thick black fine liner. This one is the 07 tip, and this is going to serve as a limit for the tapes. So they are going to be inside of this frame, and this is going to be pretty much the formula I'm using for the rest of the decorations, with some exceptions, but overall it's this. So to start, I'm going in with the sky right on the top, the pond tape on the bottom, and then in between I'm going to put the stickers, so that PET tape with the garden illustrations. But because there are going to be some spaces between each sticker, I decided to continue the sky until it touches the pond tape on the bottom. So that way, even if there are some gaps in between the stickers, you are just going to see the sky behind it. The camera died and I didn't notice, so there are some parts missing. But moving on to the title, since this color palette is so vibrant and it has these dark shadows, I decided to use these black letters to create the main titles of this theme, and I think it matches really well with the aesthetic of this setup. And for those who don't know, I make my mom's journal in Portuguese, but I'll translate as I go. For the quote on the left page, I decided to go with one that talked about the lotus flowers because they are pretty much the main focus of these tapes. And one that I chose is in Portuguese: Flor de Lótus cresce no lixo, na lama, mas nunca se mancha, which translates to lotus flower, it grows in the trash, in the mud, but it never stains. And after I put a little sticker right below the quote, we can move on to the calendar spread. So now for the calendar, I started again with the frame for the decoration. This one is going to be more narrow and the height is going to align perfectly with the calendar. Then for the calendar shape, I decided to make a little bar on top of each week to put the days of the month, so it's slightly different from my go-to calendar layout, but I think it works better for this theme because those bars are going to be colored with a pinkish purple that matches the tapes really well, and it's going to balance the spread a lot more since the weight of the colors of the tapes are not just on one side but spread out on the pages. I don't know if that made any sense, but basically, if I didn't put any color on the calendar, your eyes would naturally just focus on the left side, which is where the decoration is. But by coloring in a little bit of the calendar, it makes the weight much more balanced on the spread. So I went with this purple pinkish color in a water-based marker, and it's not a perfect match, but it's really close and it's vibrant enough to look good with the tapes. And now for the scene. Since I used the waterfall and a bridge on the cover page, I decided to use this house on this one. And I fill in the empty spaces with some flowers, birds, and a cute little frog, which honestly it's my favorite thing about these illustrations. I'm not a frog person, but these ones are really cute. And now that I think about it, I also used some frogs in my own February setup. This is a complete coincidence, but it's a fun one. Then I just used the black letters for the days of the week right on top of the calendar, and to fill in the little empty space on the corner of the calendar, I put one little sticker and some butterflies. This calendar spread turned out really beautiful. Even though the layout is quite simple, the decoration really pushes it to another level. Now let's continue on to the weeklies. This time I'm not making Dutch doors as I've been doing, because I had many ideas for these ones and I was having so much fun with the tapes that I decided to play around a little more. The first one is going to look like a Dutch door in terms of layout, but I'm not cutting anything. I'm making two little frames, one on each page, and right in the middle I'm doing the functional part. Then for the empty spaces below and above each frame, I'm doing a note section and a mini calendar. Then I made a little mistake, and instead of doing the line vertically, I did it horizontally, but thankfully it was only on the first one, so I just covered it up with a little bit of paper. Then I didn't want all my colors to just be the pinkish purple, so I decided to use this mustard yellow, which is slightly muted, to color every second line of the notes section. And this color is going to match the yellow on the sunset, and it's actually a nice way to balance the colors on the spread. For the decoration, I decided to do a continuous scene across the two rectangles. So on the top one we are putting the sky, and then on the other we are continuing the scene with the other two tapes. I could have done one entire column on one of the sides and do the notes and the calendar on the other, but this way it looks more balanced because the focus of the spread, that is the decoration, is across the two pages and not just on one side. I knew I wouldn't have enough letter stickers to do every day of the month, so instead I'm only using the letters to do the notes title, and I'm writing the days of the month myself. That is complete, so now let's move on to the next weekly. This one I don't do very often, but it's very easy to do and to decorate, especially if you have tiny stickers or smaller pieces of decorations. I'm using white washi tapes, but that actually worked quite well because I could just cut things to the exact size I wanted. So this one is going to look like a chessboard in the end. The rectangles are on opposite ways, which leaves these empty squares in between, so that's where I'm going to put all the decorations. Again, for the notes section, I did the line in the mustard yellow, and for the days of the week I did the pink. So that way I used both colors on the same spread, and it helps to differentiate between the different sections. Then for the tapes, I decided to use the same idea as the previous weekly and do a continuous scene across the entire spread. So even though the decoration is separated, it all looks connected when you look at the entire picture. I also decided to do the rectangles in the thicker fine liner and leave the decoration without any frames, so this is a little reversed, but I think it looks much better that way. Otherwise, the frames would make the scene look a lot smaller and not connected at all. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I hope you can understand what I'm talking about by seeing that. Moving on, we are making my favorite weekly, and that's because I'm doing a scene right in the middle of it. And I think it looks amazing, so much so that it would look so much better as the cover page. But let's continue. So this one will have the functional sections on the outside of the spread, and the middle is going to have the decoration. It's simple and it looks good with any type of decoration you decide to use. We went back to the thicker fine liner for the frames and the 02 for the other rectangles. And for the scene I'm starting again with the sky, then the bottom lake and then the middle part. This scene was a little trickier to work with since the binding of the journal is right in the middle, so I had to make sure the tape was really in there, and in the end I went through the middle with my X-Acto knife just to keep the binding of the journal secure. This was the scene that had more sky showing. I really wanted to use a sticker from the tape that had a girl on a boat, and she's tiny, so I wanted to make it look like you are seeing her from afar, and the sky is the showstopper. After I put the girl on the lake, I realized that the weight was all on the bottom and I wanted to make it more balanced. I guess that's the word for this setup, but honestly, I just like things looking that way. So I decided to use some greenery from the tape to build this frame on the top. I don't know the name of the greens, but they remind me of that tree that has all these flowers dripping down. I think it's called wisteria. And so it gives you the illusion that you are somewhere beneath that tree and you are seeing the girl from your point of view, that is slightly hidden by the greenery. I don't know, it just looks so romantic to me and I really love the way it turned out. And I also decided not to cut the greenery on the top out of frame, just to give some dimension to the scene. Then I decided that I didn't like the way the colored lines on the rectangles looked like they were unfinished, since the rest of the setup is really polished with straight lines and all in boxes. So I went back and added those finishing touches. Let's continue on to the last weekly, and this one was the quickest to set up so far. Since the last week of February only has 6 days, I divided the spread in 8 sections. But on the right page I'm using the 2 top sections for decoration, and the others are for the days of the week without any notes section. This one is not my favorite because I think it looks a little empty, and I actually thought of coloring every second line of each section with the mustard yellow, but it would look weird just doing that on the last weekly, and I didn't want to add that detail to the other weeklies for consistency, so I just let it be. For the scene, sometimes less is more, so I just cut the tapes to the size since they were a bit wider than I wanted, and I just used one bridge and some butterflies to put in between the sky and the lake. And that's it for the weeklies, so now let's move on to the last spread of this setup, which is going to be, as usual, the monthly expenses and a brain dump. So starting on the left page, we have the monthly expenses, and this is a page that I do always on my mom's journal. She finds it really useful and it's quite simple to set up. I just make a table with 3 columns, the item, the date and the price, and on the bottom I have a little section for the total expenses. And here she can put any monthly bills or any invoices. It can be anything that she spent her money on that month, and it keeps it more easy to track anything down if there's an issue. For the title, I did a frame, and I'm going to use the letter stickers right on top, and for the brain dump on the right page, I'm reversing the position of the frame, so that one is going to be on the bottom of the page, and instead of black, I'm going to put down white letter stickers. And I chose white for the letters on the brain dump, or thoughts as I like to call it as well, because the tape is quite dark for the black letters to be visible. So the white is going to make a great contrast, even though they aren't present anywhere else on the setup. But I think it was a sacrifice worth making. And since this page is going to be quite empty, I also put a sticker outside of the frame. And it's time for the final flip through. I really love how it turned out. I actually wish I did this one on my own journal. So if you enjoyed it as well, give a like, subscribe, and leave a lotus flower emoji on the comments to let me know you watched it till the end. Not to brag, but I think I did a very good job on this theme. It's a color palette that I'm not very comfortable with, but the tapes really made it easy to use and come up with different scenes and ways to use them. So if you also loved them, don't forget to check out the Washi tape shop and use my code Juliana10 to get 10% off your order. You won't regret it, I'm sure of it. The next video is going to be my January reads in my Square reading journal, which I'm so excited about, so ring the bell to receive the notification and make sure you don't miss it. I hope you have a lovely day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!